What's up, everyone? Welcome in to the DNVR Rockies podcast. We're doing things remote today because we've got March Madness happening downstairs in our studios right now. The watch-along stream is taking place, so we are taking things on the road for at least today. We'll be back in studio again tomorrow. Christian Saez, Big Drive Spence hanging out with you. We got a lot to talk about today. Ezequiel Tovar, World Baseball Classic champion. Get to celebrate that. Talk about a little WBC action. We got to hear from
Antonio Senzatella too.
True. You've texted me about that every single time, and it's
so
not
good. Now it's a bit.
I know
it's a bit now.
It's not that I'm intentionally leaving Senza out. He just didn't do anything. Like he was not really a part of it. I get that he pitched one inning or whatever, and he has like a 24 ERA or whatever it was. I did put a tweet out about him. I am glad Senza got the win. And I know it's easy for us Rockies fans to hate on Antonio Senzatella because he's had a fall from grace, right? He's not what the player that he used to be. But it's not like he's going out there and trying to suck. Like his stuff just isn't what it used to be. I wish him the best. I just wish that he wasn't currently on the Rockies. The contract never helps, right? Whenever a player gets a bad contract and then, you're stuck with them after they stop being good. That never helps. But I don't wish ill will on Antonio Senzatella. I just forgot that he existed completely with Team Venezuela.
Oh, man. Well, he made Tatis's tournament a little more fun for those fans.
He did. And to be honest, he made me think a little bit because I was watching him pitch that one inning and he looked really good all the way up until that 2-strike, curveball that he left chest high. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Senzatella. We've got a lot to talk about. Tovar, obviously. We saw an article. Buster Olney just put out an article with an interview with Paul DePodesta, so we can kind of talk about that as the show gets going. Obviously, we'll continue our conversations on the Rockies opening day roster because we're just literally a week away from opening day, technically, although the Rockies opening day is a Friday, so a week from tomorrow. Baseball brackets, since it is the first official day of March Madness, we'll be talking about that as well. If you haven't seen that on Twitter, go check that out. But Ezequiel Tovar getting a WBC championship. Now, Eli, I saw you just tweeted. I don't know if you're watching the show right now. I saw you just tweeted at me saying that Ken Rosenthal said something about Tovar's value after the WBC tournament. I haven't seen what he said. So if you are watching this and you have information on that, drop it in the Toyota chat. Let us know what you're saying. But either way, Ezequiel Tovar had a hell of a tournament. I know from a biased perspective, you and I both wanted him to win WBC championship or WBC MVP. And it didn't happen. It went to Michael Garcia, which I actually thought, if we're being honest, was kind of a snub to Wilyer Abreu, who I think had the most impactful, at least latter half of the tournament. But still, man, awesome to see Tovar get the WBC championship, bring those good vibes right back to Denver.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part for Tovar is if the game against Japan was the final and he basically did the exact same thing, right? If Team Venezuela beats the USA in the quarterfinals or the semifinals, and then he does what he did against Japan in the final game, I bet you he wins MVP. Mm-hmm. But he still had the highest OPS of any player in the WBC in general. So shout out to Toby for that. And yeah, his game against the United States, while he did have 2 hits, it was, if you want to look at it on a super granular level, it was very Rockies of him. Like 2 meaningless hits, 2 meaningless singles that didn't turn into anything, and not that it was his fault. He didn't get a chance to drive any runs, didn't have any at bats with runners in scoring position. He was mostly the guy that was hitting with nobody on base or a couple outs. So he did have a few impactful hits, or could have been impactful hits, but then they ended up amounting to not much. And like baseball has moved to now, just in a general sense, the guys that hit homers make the big splashes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Still good to see him out there balling out. I do think, and again, I don't know what Elon was talking about when he tweeted at me, but I do think it speaks, volumes to what Tovy's capable of. I think it reminds us. We know he was battling injuries last year, and you and I both put him on our list of guys that need to have a big season this year. I think when we did a ranking the other day of who's the most important piece of this rebuild, if I remember correctly, didn't you have him at number 1 for the most important piece of the rebuild?
I did, because much like he showed for Team Venezuela in the WBC, having a shortstop that probably, he was hitting fifth in the final. He'll probably hit somewhere around the 2 spot for the Rockies this season if he continues to cook like he did in the WBC. Having a shortstop that's a gold glove level player that hits 280, 290. It's a ton of doubles, not a big power guy, but that is a key foundational piece to a rebuild and a team that's trying to be good. I mean, look at the Bobby Witts and, that go back, obviously Derek Jeter, guys like that. Like, shortstop is one of those positions where if you have a premier player, you have one of your key blocks and you're building a team from scratch, essentially, or you have the pieces, you just need to put them together and make a winner. And Tovar is that guy, or can be that guy, for the Rockies. So he's extremely important to their rebuild and what he means for the future of the Rockies, because as we heard a million times in the WBC, he's only 24 years old. And he's just so young still. Feels old because he made his debut with the Rockies so early in his life and his career, but he's a huge part to the Rockies rebuild, and a guy that, I don't think we've talked about. You want to trade Brenton Doyle for anything that you can get. I know how you feel about BD, and not saying anything against you. I know you like the guy, but I don't think Tovar is. He shouldn't be considered as a trade piece from the Rockies end. Now, if somebody comes to you, and there was a lot of general managers and front offices watching the WBC, obviously, if there's a lot of teams that looked at that and are like, oh man, we're a short stop away from being a real contender, and they come to you with a disgusting offer of first round picks and a ton of prospects, maybe you consider it, but you don't call any team saying Ezequiel Tovar is available. Somebody's got to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, see, here's the thing about Tovar compared to Doyle. Tovar is the anchor right now of the infield, an infield that is increasingly younger and younger by the day. I feel, you've got probably TJ Rumfield going to be starting at first base, maybe Condon at some point, but at least to start, probably TJ Rumfield. You've got maybe Willie Castro. Castro might be in there, but you've got, probably a little bit more of a veteran presence at second base. Still not as good as Tovar. But then your third baseman's probably Kyle Karros. Ryan Ritter's in that mix as well. So you've got a really young infield. Outfield-wise, with Doyle, you signed Jake McCarthy to be basically that Doyle replacement if you end up trading Doyle. You also have Mickey Moniak out there, who is kind of a veteran as well. So you have options in the outfield to pair with your young guys. I think with the infield, you don't feel as confident about just a Willie Castro veteran infield. I think the Rockies need a little bit more than that. Tovar provides that stability. So I agree with you. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I think we've gone in circles on this before, or we've given our takes on this before about why the Rockies shouldn't trade Tovar, but he's one of my untouchables. Absolutely. This year. I wanted to wrap up our WBC conversation. Did you see Rob Manfred went out yesterday and kind of said what we were saying last show about the possibility that in the future, Major League Baseball is going to do an in-season tournament because of the success that the World Baseball Classic has had?
I did see that, and it's just parlaying that success into more eyeballs and more things for, like we talked about it a little bit with the WBC. Obviously, baseball, this is not a new thing by any means, but they're trying to figure out the best time to do it. And of course, doing it in early March or mid-March when the players are not considered on teams yet. They're not playing their 162 game schedule, so you're not taking those guys away. There's obviously a lot of decisions made by managers that then told their country's managers, like, hey, this guy can't pitch today, or this guy only needs this many pitches. So that takes away from it a little bit, but we've seen it with the Four Nations. We saw it with the Olympics in basketball, and then transitioning literally the All-Star game from, West versus East to World versus USA. Now, basketball obviously is a very different sport, and the All-Star game is awesome, and the MLB does a good job of that. But the success of the WBC should push the MLB and the commissioner to find more fun things like this to break up the very long, sometimes boring season, even for the most diehard baseball fans, and get some international competition where you can truly tell how much it mattered to a lot of the countries, obviously USA included, but USA might be 10th, 11th on the list of importance to their country and importance of watching baseball to their the entire country of the United States versus like a Venezuela or Dominican Republic, and how many people showed out and watched for their teams. So take the success you've earned from the WBC and let's create something else that's fun and cool and exciting.
I also think this, I mean, I know we've been in the age of technology for a long time, but this felt like the first WBC where social media was, was really at its peak with TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all the different options you have on how to consume content. And there are so many different content creators, ourselves included, although we weren't really WBC content creators, people whose job is to build content around baseball specifically. And I think I saw a lot more eyeballs, not just statistically. Obviously, we saw the metrics coming out about how many more people were watching the WBC this year compared to other years. But I feel like the discourse, I mean, like it's taken over the sports world for the last 2 weeks. The USA controversies, the Cal Raleigh stuff, Mark DeRosa's stuff, all the crazy atmospheres in Japan and the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico. And, like, it's completely shifted. And I've seen a lot of people, I think you were even saying yourself is included in this, as someone who like didn't really pay that much attention to the WBC before, and then like tuned in this year, partially because, because of Tovar and because of some of the Rockies. And you're like, holy shit, like this is electric stuff. My wife is the same thing. I mean, she loved this tournament and she's not a huge baseball fan. So I think we saw the tournament grow immensely this year in an international stage. And I think Major League Baseball recognized that. I think the fans recognize that. And I think the players recognize that, because there were still players that could have played. I'm not talking insurance wise, but that could have played, especially on Team USA, that said, yeah, I need to focus on different things, right? Tariq Skubal, another example, but guys who just said, I got to focus on the big league season. And I think looking back, players are probably watching that and saying, maybe next time it comes around, I should, right? I think, and I think Major League Baseball has the incentive also to say, yeah, like Scott said in the chat, you need more than 3 innings out of your pitchers, right? You need more than 60 pitches, right? We gotta find a way for this to be an even bigger opportunity to showcase what an incredible sport this is. And I think you already saw that at this level, but you got to find ways to work around the insurance stuff so that, your team Puerto Ricos can actually have a full squad. You got to find ways to get all the best players. Like I think it's close, but I think Major League Baseball is realizing that, hey, we can make a lot of money. We can grow the sport with the WBC, but we got to fix some things because it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, exactly. They have a great product. They had participation from Team USA, which is obviously huge for, it wasn't huge for us personally and Rockies Nation, really. I mean, sometimes it depends upon where you are in the Rockies fandom versus just MLB and baseball fandom and your homerism to Team USA, if you will. But it was like the Olympics for me a little bit. Brock Nelson being an Avalanche player and also being on Team USA had me a little bit more hyped up for Team USA and my country that I grew up in and was born in. But seeing 3 of your athletes on Team Canada, much like the Rockies had with Team Venezuela, where there was Tovar and Senzatella, even though he didn't, really wasn't a factor, it made the Rockies fandom in me have a little bit more connection to the WBC in general, and not just Team Venezuela, but Michael Lorenzen killing it for Team Italy, which my bet that went to die. I'm so sad I didn't hedge that. I should have hedged that. It was a rookie mistake on my part. But even Lorenzen, and then seeing Bernardino pitch and Vodnik pitch, it was fun to get that exposure for some of the Rockies that every game, there's still that national, not hate, but just forgettability. The Rockies have a lot of forgettability. Yeah. And so it's nice to hear some of those guys being talked about, like on the broadcast. Oh, this guy will be a Colorado Rocky, or seeing Tovar, that's been a Rocky for a long time, kill it. And they're like, that's his, the national tweets and everything going out. Like, is Tovar the best player in baseball? Like, that was cool to see as a Rockies fan.
Yeah, it's his coming out party, right? Yeah. And I will say, I saw some statistician on Twitter posted a graphic where they basically ranked via all these different metrics the importance each Major League Baseball team played when it comes to their players in Major League Baseball. And I thought, hey, the Rockies have been crushing it. Like, they've got to be high up there. They weren't at the bottom, But Rockies were, I think, 17th out of 30 of like their players' importance. So it wasn't bad, but you have to remember like the Red Sox, right? The Red Sox, every single one of their dudes was balling out. Willie Abreu, Roman Anthony, Jaron Duran. There were other teams ahead of the Rockies, but still good tournament from the Rockies. So good stuff, good WBC action. I'm going to be bummed that we have to wait 4 years till the next one. It's one of my favorite tournaments of all time. So always good to see a Rocky win in that one. But we got to pause for our first break. After the break, that article from Buster Olney, he spoke with Paul DePodesta. And Paul DePodesta talked about some of the things he wants to shift in Colorado, not just to a winning and losing standpoint, but some of the mentalities that he wants to shift. And I thought there was some very interesting points that he made that we need to talk about coming up after this break. Well, I want to take this time to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Xfinity. Xfinity is the place to go for your Wi-Fi needs, and Xfinity is the best place to go for Wi-Fi. And I got to say, they have this awesome promotion right now called the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, where if you lock in your price today with Xfinity, you will get the same price on Wi-Fi for 5 years. That's an inflation buster right there. That's the deal of a lifetime as it is, because we know things get more expensive as time goes on. So having the same price on Wi-Fi for 5 years is awesome. That's their 5-year price guarantee. They also have intelligent Wi-Fi that is working behind the scenes. It's adapting. It's sending enough energy, depending on which devices use more energy. If your TV uses more energy than your computer or your phone or whatever, it actually can quantify all of that kind of stuff in the background and send the right Wi-Fi energy so that you have all the devices working properly. It's incredible stuff. So lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Well, I also want to give a huge shout out to our friends right now over at Game Time. It is that time of year. Baseball is right around the corner. And that means you got to use our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to go for buying tickets, because we know there's a ton of different options when you go out and you buy your tickets for games. But Game Time, their app is the easiest to use. They're the most affordable tickets. The closer you wait to first pitch, I mean, we're talking $10 tickets for Rockies games. That's pocket change. You go to some local coffee shop, your coffee costs more than it costs to go watch a Colorado Rockies game with the Game Time app. And they have awesome things like zone deals. All of their fees are included, so you're not surprised when you go to check out. Seat views, lowest price guarantee, their Game Time ticket coverage with all of the best in-class customer service. You just can't go wrong when you use the Game Time app. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right. Back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast, doing a remote show today with March Madness watch-alongs happening in our studios. Spencer, you actually sent this to me, but I had seen it. I think it popped up yesterday. Buster Olney spoke with Paul DePodesta. Paul DePodesta talked about how he wants to change the narrative here in Colorado. And I think the most interesting part of that article was him talking about playing at Coors Field, and instead of looking at it as a disadvantage, taking that and looking at it as an advantage. Now, that might seem like a really simple thing, but if you've ever heard the Monforts specifically speak, or specifically Dick Monfort speak about Colorado and speak about playing at elevation, every single person, including, starting from the top down over the last 10 plus years, has talked about playing at Coors Field as this huge crutch, as this huge, disadvantage, where the Rockies are, no one understands what we have to go through. We're playing at elevation. It's just this big negative. And Paul DePodesta said, look, right, we get it. It's a challenge, but it's our challenge. And we need to claim home field advantage. We need to claim Coors Field. And instead of looking at it like it's a disadvantage, look at it like it's an advantage. We know how to play there. We know how to win there. And yes, we play 50% of our home games at Coors Field, but we're also playing another team who's at Coors Field too, right? It's not like we're playing someone else who's playing in their own home stadium. We're playing teams at Coors Field. It should be an advantage. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Spencer. Do you agree? Do you think it truly, the Rockies can truly turn Coors Field into an advantage, or will it always be a disadvantage playing at elevation?
No, it should be an advantage and always has been up until the past 3 years. I know the Rockies have had a less than stellar history, right? Been to one World Series, never won the division in 34 years now, 33 years of playing baseball. So it's not like they're the Yankees or the Red Sox with this crazy history. But even in the 2017, 2018 years and a couple of years after that, when the Rockies made the playoffs and they were a decent ball club and a team that was competing for a playoff spot, not necessarily a World Series with some of those teams, but they were always, always, always good at Coors Field. And that's where it's kind of been shocking to me and taken me, even these last 3 years of 100 plus losses, it's still not set in with me that, and I'm the homer, I'm an optimism, I wear my purple glasses to every game. I go to Coors Field and I'm like, the Rockies should win. Doesn't matter how bad they are. Doesn't matter if they're a 43 and 119 team. They should win because they're at Coors Field. And I think where the disconnect has come, and the biggest call out is the Rockies pitching staff, right? The Rockies had a 6.6 plus ERA last year in general. And then at Coors Field, it wasn't that great. And I did hear a stat, Victor Vodnik last year had the lowest ERA of any relieving pitcher of all time at Coors Field for an entire season. So quick, fun note for him. Yeah, at Coors Field. No, it was Victor Vodnik.
Really?
His ERA at Coors Field was like 1.89. They mentioned that I think they mentioned that on the broadcast of one of the spring training games when he was pitching. So you have to fact check that. But so pitching at Coors Field is tough, right? But the Rockies have always had a lineup that you look at and you're like, good God, how do we get through this? And that's where the disconnect has been the past couple of years. The pitching has been worse, but the lineup has given you no hope that, other than a few games here and there, because baseball's such a long season, it used to be like the game we went to, the most fun game of the year against the Pirates that I still watch on YouTube like once a week, when they came back from down 9-0 in the first inning. Now, that's obviously a tall task. That's not going to happen all the time. But that used to be the feeling of the Rockies the past decade is, oh my God, we're down 6-0, but Drew Goodman still talks about it. He's like, here come the Rockies, because they've done it so many times. They've come back from such big deficits at Coors Field because you feel like you're never out of a game. A lot of balls drop in that shouldn't drop in or don't in other stadiums. And then it's, hitting home runs with the light air and the ball flying, and especially on the hot nights in the summer, you can hit a lot of home runs at Coors Field and make a 6-run deficit disappear pretty quickly. But the lineup the past 4 or 5 years has been less than stellar. Yeah. And guys are striking out a ton, which obviously, if you know baseball at all, strikeouts are the worst thing you can possibly do. But it gets magnified at Coors Field because how many times have we seen what feels like our pitchers just get squeezed by balls being, jam the shit out of somebody and they fight it off and it goes over the second baseman's head and drops in the massive outfield of Coors Field. The Rockies need to get more to contact and get these hitters that aren't striking out as much as an entire team. They just need to put the ball in play, especially at Coors Field, and good things will happen with you. So I think it's a combination of playing at Coors Field and using that to your advantage, but also some of the little things you need to do really well to win at Coors Field have just been absent from the Rockies, right? One of them too is defense. The defense, as we know, theoretically, you've got a Gold Glove level center fielder. You got a Gold Glover at short, 2 of your prime defensive positions. You've had Ryan McMahon, who's been a Gold Glove finalist at third base for the past couple of years. He's gone now, but you've had Gold Glovers and good outfielders everywhere. And you've played good defense at Coors Field, which helps you win ball games there too. So the lack of defense, the lack of power in the lineup and contact and strikeouts, and the lack of pitching has all attributed to the Rockies just not being as good at Coors Field. But really, the pitching is what shines because the number is so big, and the ERA, you're like, you can't win without pitching. But I think I even heard this on a broadcast for the Rockies the other day. The guy was like, the Rockies don't need to be in the top 10 in ERA to win baseball games and be a playoff team. He's like, if they're a middling pitching team, if they're in 15 to 20 in ERA, but have a good lineup, like they're hoping to try to build, they can be a winning ball club. They don't need to shut everybody out like at Petco Park or, some of these whatever the Giants field's called now. AT&T is what I'm going to always call it. But, those teams, they pitch well and they win games 3-2. The Rockies should win a lot of games at Coors Field 7-6 or 8-5. That's the scores you need to win with at Coors Field. You're going to have random low scoring games here and there, but they need to get the bats going. They need to strike out less, and they need to play better defense. That's the formula for winning at 20th and Blake.
Yeah, it's the mindset you have to have. Absolutely. But if you look at the numbers, if you look at the stats, technically Coors Field isn't an advantage. No matter how you look at it, even if you can be a good team, I've always said, right, if you build a really good team, if you put the Los Angeles Dodgers playing at Coors Field, they're still going to win ball games, whether they play at Coors Field or not, right? I think sometimes people overanalyze playing an elevation, and it's worth paying attention to, but I think people overanalyze it. If you just build a good baseball team, they will win. But with that being said, I saw this actually on Twitter, and this kind of got me going down the rabbit hole, but Coors Merchant on Twitter, good follow if you're a Rockies fan. He said, or they put together a basically like a graphic kind of adjusting for the park factor at Coors Field for the entire franchise history. And the Rockies have only had an above average offense one time in franchise history when you adjust for Coors Field. So there is something to be said about it truly being a disadvantage, but you're not moving anytime soon. And none of us want to lose, although everyone, you always hear the sell the team crowd out there, whatever. We don't want the Rockies to ever leave Colorado. We love having baseball here. So the reality is you got to find ways to win with the situation that you have. And the only way to do that is to have the mindset that you can turn it into as much of an advantage as you possibly can. Control what you can control. So while I don't think it will ever be truly an advantage, it can be a mindset shift for the Rockies. And I'm glad Paul talked about it. I'm glad he's going out and saying that. I mean, like I said, it just feels like the vibe hasn't been there for a long time. And now he's finally shifting and saying, hey, it's not going to be perfect. And I saw Felix in the chat say, DePodesta needs to hire a scientist at this point, right? It does feel really complicated. But I think, again, if you simplify it as much as you can, you go put together a winning ball club, no matter what stadium they're playing in. If that roster is legitimate and can win ball games, they're going to win ball games. And that's the reality, whether you're playing at elevation or not.
Yeah, well, and one of the other interesting quotes from that article, I believe it was Kyle Freeland, that just pushes into our point a little bit more, is when other teams, especially non-NL West teams, play one series a season at Coors Field, right? Or if it's an AL team now, it's every other year. There are pitchers on that other squad that no matter how bad the Rockies are, they don't want to be in line to pitch at Coors Field. Use that. If somebody, it's just like having a great home field advantage in hockey or basketball or football, with the Broncos, the Seahawks have kind of coined the 12th man. It's not fun to go there and play. Mm-hmm. And that's the Rockies have to use that to their advantage, that it may be fun for the starting pitchers, but it's not, the offense and the lineup, but it's not fun for a starting pitcher to come to Coors Field and try to have success. So lean into that and make it not fun for them. Don't strike out all the time and just say, Coors Field's fine. I struck out 10 Rockies today and allowed 1 run in 6 innings. That's what they need to get away from. These guys don't like to play here, and use that. Just lean into it and use it.
Yeah. Rolly in the chat says Rockies continue to have a bottom 5 farm system. You're never going to win when you don't have talent development in the farm. Absolutely. 100%. And I think that's why the Rockies organization, Walker Monfort and company, went out and hired not just Paul DePodesta, but, Tommy Tanis and Ian Levin. There you go. Thank you. And guys who have a proven track record of building good farm systems, right? Both the guys coming from the Mets, I think it was Levin and Tommy, both have proven track records of making the Mets one of the best farm systems in all of baseball. I mean, look at Nolan McLean, who started the championship game for Team USA. Granted, he didn't get the win, but I look at his talent and I'm like, holy crap, man. He's in line to win Rookie of the Year this year. And that's they were the ones who drafted and developed him. So the Rockies brought in new guys in the front office to hopefully help with those types of things. But that's a huge part of it, right? But I think it does start top down, right? You got to have that mentality at the top and work your way down. Luke, I see in the chat you said Rumfield only has one strikeout all spring. Yep, we'll get to that here in a second. I do want to address this real fast. DM2K runner in the chat says, Rocks fan here, first watch, and I heard you all say it's okay to trade Doyle. He's a pillar of the team. You all should be fighting for us to keep him. First of all, welcome to the show. I see we got some new people here in the show watching, so welcome. We're going to be living through this whole season. We're going to be loving it every step of the way. Here's my thing on Doyle, just real fast. I don't want the Rockies to trade Brenton Doyle from a fan perspective. I agree. I do think he can be a pillar of this team. But if you look at his age and where he's at and where the Rockies are at currently, pretty much restarting their rebuild right now because they have a bottom farm system in all of Major League Baseball and they just came off 119 losses. So you're pretty much restarting this rebuild this year. It's going to be a few years before you're competitive again. I think Doyle might not be in his prime anymore by the time the Rockies are a playoff-oriented team. So in an effort to kickstart the rebuild, he's one of your more valuable players. Sometimes when you're in a rebuild, you got to make uncomfortable decisions. He's a guy that might have to be on the chopping block this year if you don't have other good trade pieces. So that's the context for that. Welcome to the show. If you disagree with me, that's totally fine. Like I said, we love Doyle. We've had him here on the show before. But that might be the situation that the Rockies are in. And as Scott says, welcome to DNVR Rockies therapy. Yeah, it's not always positive stuff. We're pretty much homers in most cases, but
it's usually fun and positive in from November to March.
Yeah,
late March, and then it can turn.
And
the occasional fun day.
And Rolly in the chat has it head on. You got to let Doyle go, get assets, and develop talent. That's the unfortunate situation. I wish it wasn't true. I wish the Rockies weren't currently sitting in their 5,000th rebuild, but the reality is here we are. It does feel like this one might have some more sticking power because of the new front office. So there's hope on the horizon, but it's going to take a long time, and you've got to kickstart that rebuild with some talent in the farm system. And the only way to get that, especially when you don't have a top draft pick anymore, is by trading guys. And Doyle is one of your most valuable assets that also isn't young enough where it's like Tovar, where it's worth holding on to him because he could be in his prime if and when the Rockies get back to a playoff-oriented team. So that's my take on that. Let's take the next break. After this break, did the Rockies find their Luis Arraez without signing Luis Arraez? We'll talk about that coming up next. Well, I want to take this time to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota is a part of our DNA here at DNVR and also with the Colorado Rockies. Toyota, of course, the official sponsor of the Colorado Rockies. And I can't say enough good things about Toyota. I went up into the mountains yesterday, did some fishing because it was nice and warm, brought my Toyota up there, did some, I wouldn't really call it off-roading, but I was driving on some dirt roads. And God, we got into some muddy sections, and I love my new Toyota. I got a 2024 RAV4, and I got the Adventure Series, so it has the mud, snow, different traction settings. Incredible. So if you're like me and you like to get out in the summer, you got to get a new Toyota, whether it's a truck, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. You can go with the 4Runner. You can go with the Tundra, the Tacoma, or the RAV4. They also have hybrid options. I personally have the all-gas a RAV4, I should say. They have hybrid options for that as well. Actually, I think most of the RAV4s are hybrid options. So whatever you're into, they have you covered. So if you're in the market to get yourself a new Toyota, visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwood Toyota in Boulder, Grove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places. Well, I also want to give a huge shout out to our friends at Shady Rays. Summer is right around the corner. I mean, it's pretty much here. My pregnant wife was getting heat stroke basically on the drive over. It's really warm outside and really sunny outside. So if you're going to be enjoying this Colorado sun, you got to get a pair of Shady Rays. And Shady Rays has their best deal of the season right now. If you use code DNVR SR, 40% off 2+ pairs of sunglasses. Shady Rays is great because you can get a ton of different options. They're not like overly expensive. And I know some sunglasses are really expensive. These ones are pretty relatively, they're reasonably priced. And the cool thing about Shady Rays is if you lose them, you damage them, they'll send you a new pair for free. They'll replace your sunglasses for free, no matter what happens to them. So it's the best place to go. I lose and break my sunglasses all the time. That's why I only use Shady Rays. So right now, again, head to shadyrays.com, use code DNVR SR for 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Can't say enough good things about Shady Rays. All right. Did the Rockies back their way into a Luis Arraez this offseason? I think they did. Now, maybe it's not going to be as flashy as Luis Arraez. Maybe we don't have the proven track record of Luis Arraez yet. But he's a hell of a lot cheaper, and his K rate so far is lower than Luis Arraez. TJ Rumfield, the guy that the Rockies picked up for, what was it, Angel CVG, right? That was the trade from the New York Yankees.
The Rockies-Yankees pipeline is so strong.
Dude, it's so alive and well. I figured when the GM Schmidt got let go or quit, I figured that pipeline was going to like dissipate a little bit, and nope. Paul DePodesta is keeping that alive and well. So TJ Rumfield, though, I think has had one of the best spring trainings that we could see. The fact that he only has one strikeout through 49 at-bats, if I remember correctly, I think it was 49. One strikeout through 49 at-bats. That alone is enough. Going from Michael Tolia's, 50% K rate, it felt like, to that at first base.
Highest in Major League history, wasn't it?
Yes. Sign me up, man. So we talked about this a little bit on Monday. I think TJ Rumfield has first base locked down. I know it's not been confirmed yet. I know it's not been official, but I think we got. I think given the game plan, given what we know about Moneyball DePodesta, I think TJ Rumfield's gonna be at least on the roster, if not starting opening day at first base.
Here's my thing. I am very, very excited for TJ Rumfield. Grew up, came through the Yankees farm system. Obviously, tough to get to the big club with that team. Kind of has I love when we trade for the guys that where in other sports, when you get traded to a team that just came off one of the worst seasons in the history of the league, you don't get that excited, right? Generally speaking, I know we're not professional athletes by any means, but getting traded to the Rockies can't be all that fun for certain guys, right? Or just any guy, especially pitchers. But TJ Rumfield's a first baseman. For him, that's such an awesome opportunity. Now, Charlie Condon's in the system and has had a good spring as well. But when you get traded there, you've been a Yankee for a couple years now and been in the farm system and like, well, when the fuck am I going to get to play? When am I going to get to play with the big club, play for the Yankees, whatever? You get traded to the Rockies and you say, wow, I can go hit at Coors Field. He's already a Gold Glove level first baseman or has been in the minor leagues. So you expect that to continue into the majors. And now he gets a shot. And I'm extremely excited for this, but I got to tell you, dude, I'm a little scared that something's going to happen, not injury related, but this team's going to just not put him on the roster and not start him day one. And Troy Johnston, we talked about it a little bit. We're going to do our crash out lineup maybe next week, maybe next Tuesday before we get the actual opening day lineup. But I just can see Troy Johnston starting at first base opening day, and I'm going to freak out. So I'm trying not to get too excited for that reason.
Yeah, I'll cue up that freak out song for you for that show specifically. I saw a couple people commenting about, why it should be Charlie Condon. He's also had a good spring. And I know you guys probably in the chat, you guys are good ball knowers. I think you guys probably understand, but I'll say it anyways if someone's listening out there that feels that way. Charlie Condon's, he's young. He's 22, 24, something like that. He's young. I know Rumfield is a couple years older than him. You just don't need to rush him. You're not competing for a playoff spot right now. So you have no need to get Charlie Condon up there really quick. I get, as a fan, we want that to happen. But if you have a blessing of riches, meaning that TJ Rumfield goes up, because I think a lot of people's worry is that TJ Rumfield is going to end up being pretty good. And then what do you do with Charlie Condon? That's a good problem to have. If TJ Rumfield is balling out at first base and he becomes your next rookie season Michael Tolia, for lack of a better way of putting it, where we all get, excited and think that this is the next big first baseman, great. That you could find another place for Charlie if he's crushing the baseball. Hell, put him at DH.
He played right field yesterday in the spring training game. And he can play the outfield. He can play third base. He's not a Todd Helton's is just the guy that comes to mind, but Todd Helton's never playing anywhere on the infield or the outfield other than first base, right?
Yeah.
That's the same with Charlie Condon. That's the opposite of Charlie Condon. Charlie Condon is a guy that you can put anywhere. And the Rockies have no problem with anybody being good that does not create any issues. That only creates positives at this point. I don't give a shit if it's Amador, or I don't give a shit if Edward Julian decides to hit 500 this season and be the best second baseman in the NL. Any of those guys being good is not a problem for you to look at it as oh, if Tovar's an all-star and Tovar just continues his WBC run and is good for the next 5 years and in his prime, I'm not worried about Ethan Holiday not getting called up because Tovar's actually good. If a player's good, I will fucking take him. We need them. We need as many as we can get.
That's why I always say people always get upset when the Rockies, draft another shortstop and they're like, we have 50 shortstops. Baseball, you never draft for big league positions. You just draft guys that are good. You don't care what position they play because you can either develop them to be something else, or by the time they get there, something else could have happened. By the time Ethan Holiday gets to Coors Field, sure, I hope Tovar's still playing shortstop, but something else could have happened. And if you have a blessing of riches where both of those guys are good, you figure it out. You put him at third base, you put him at second base, you put one of them at DH, you put one of them in the outfield. I don't care. Good teams know how to make things happen. Mookie Betts was an outfielder and moved to the infield with the Dodgers, right? Like that's
Hunter Goodman.
Yes,
Hunter Goodman was not a catcher to start his career, and now he's a silver slugger at the position and learning to play it and getting better every single season.
Yeah, 100%. So yes, you don't worry about positions. If a guy's good, and the team will make room for them to have a spot on the roster. This is an interesting comment from Eli in the chat. Charlie, he said, "Well, Charlie could be on the trade block if he is not on the big league roster by May." No chance. Charlie is untouchable right now, in my opinion. You got to give him a shot at the big league level. I don't think he would get enough for a trade. And what could you possibly be trading him for? I mean, he's a young player that is part of your development plan, right? Your rebuild. If you were going to trade people, you trade an older player for younger players, right? I know Nolan Jones is a young player, but you saw something different in value from Tyler Freeman when you traded Nolan Jones, and they saw, I think, some flaws in Nolan Jones that maybe we weren't getting the full picture on. Charlie Condon, you just don't even know yet. You got to give him a chance he was your big draft pick on a year that you were drafting in the top 5. You have to give him a shot.
If you're relating it to the Avs, he was your Cale Makar. You were the worst team in baseball or pretty close to it. You dropped all the way to number 3, and then you get theoretically what should be one of the best power hitters in the draft and could be one of the best power hitters in the MLB when he gets to that level if he grows to his potential. So you don't touch that.
Because if Charlie Condon, God forbid, if they traded if they traded Charlie Condon and he ended up being the guy that you drafted him to be on someone else's team, like what a complete crash out that would be. What a complete joke. The Rockies would go from being, well, they were a joke last year. They became competent during the offseason, back to being a joke again. We can't let that happen. I'm only allowed one crash out this year, Eli. If they trade Charlie Condon before the season starts, we're getting my crash out before the season even gets underway. So yeah, can't have that happen. Yeah, he balled out in college. You got to let him at least get the debut. Now, it doesn't take away from the fact that there could be a trade before the season starts in a different
I called that for the record. I'm on record saying that.
And Spencer, that was his idea. I had forgot about that with the Nolan Jones and Tyler Freeman trade last year. So this is, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible that they could trade someone before the season starts. I just don't think it would be Condon. There's a 0.1% that it would be Condon.
Can you show that last comment? Because I want to call this out. And this is where we are moving. Rolivas 303. I'm begging you, come with me on this journey. Come with us Rockies fans on this journey. I felt the same way you felt last year, right? This is a new front office. I'm not saying they're going to be the greatest front office of all time, right? I'm not saying they're going to turn this team around and become a 100-game winner in 3 or 4 years. That's what I hope happens. But we have to, for now, just like in the great country of America, you're innocent until proven guilty. The old regime proved themselves guilty of getting fleeced, right? This new regime, we have to trust that the trades and the DFAs and the releases that they are making are for the better of this team. And so I'm not going to tell you how to fan. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I felt the same way you did, but I have completely wiped that slate clean.
Yeah.
And every single move that this Rockies team makes now with a entirely new front office, an entirely new coaching staff, an entirely new pitching staff, entirely new hitting coaches. I mean, you can go down the list and it's just all new. You have to give them some grace. And if you want to be a positive Rockies fan, you have to move on from the past regime and give this regime a shot, because that's the only way they're going to be good. And if you want to have hope that they're going to be good, these guys have to hit on their transactions.
I think that Walker Monfort, who made the hirings of the front office, and then Paul DePodesta, I think they've bought a little bit of benefit of the doubt. They still have to prove it, and that's where I'm coming from. They still have to prove it, but I also still feel like it's not entirely fair to hold this front office, like our expectations for this front office, to taint them with the shortcomings of the previous front office. That's kind of my take on this. Is like you said, guilty or innocent until proven guilty. There's entirely new people in the front office than there was last year and beyond. I'm going to give them a shot to prove themselves. I think this trade deadline is going to be a big one for us to see whether or not that is, if it's what we hope that it can be, especially in a rebuild season. I think the moves that they've made this offseason and the limited time that they had have been good. And I saw, Rolly said that, the front office signings, Castro, Julian, Michael Lorenzen got thrown in there, Jose Quintana. I think they did really well with what limited time that they had, because all of them got hired after the offseason was well underway. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now. Spencer and I will be the first to jump on the hater bandwagon if things start going down. But for now, I think it's fair to have some hope, some optimism. And I get that the Hardy fans out there, it's still, it's PTSD. You're still a little shaken up, but I do feel like there's a corner that's being turned.
Yeah, you can't worry about your new girlfriend cheating on you because your old girlfriend Bill Schmidt cheated on you 50 times. You got to let that shit go. You have to. Now, if it was Bill Schmidt still as the GM, we can worry and we can, look at the emails and try to figure out where he's actually at, right? And figure out what he's doing when he's not with me. But this is you got to put trust in this new regime. Could be good, could be bad, but you can't carry that baggage over.
I love that. That's electric. All right, let's pause quick second, and we'll finish up our show after this. All right, events coming up. We do have official information on some upcoming events. Spencer, what do we got for opening day? Home opening.
So opening day, we will have a ticket to sell you. This is going to be awesome. So we're doing opening day at Win Coop Brewing in one of their bigger rooms in the back. We're going to be doing our live show from there. We're going to do it 10 to 2 on opening day. Now, we are going to be selling a ticket for this. It's going to be probably in the range of $20 to $30, but you get all you can eat food during the entire event from 10 to 2. So come see us. We're going to be doing our show at Win Coop Brewing in the upper level. There'll be more info on thednvr.com/events. Once the event goes live, we'll put it on Twitter, we'll put it on Instagram, all that stuff. But you'll get all you can eat food. Diehards, we're going to get you a drink ticket. So you're going to get a complimentary drink and all you can eat food. And we've got a bunch of awesome stuff from Raising Cane's, Rockies branded stuff. We've got pom-poms, we've got koozies, we've got stadium bags that you can take in, a bunch of stuff you're going to get and be part of our opening day party. It's one of my favorite days of the year. I'm already looking forward to it. Of course, we've got opening day itself next week. We'll be doing a watch along for that, but opening day, plan on coming out and hanging out with us, even if it's for a couple hours. You're not going to the game. Come to Lodo. It's one of the most fun days around the city for the entire year at Win Coop Brewing. More of that info will come out on thednvr.com/events. Toddler friendly. Yes. There will be kids there. Bring your kids. My kid probably will be there. Yeah. My kid will probably be there. My wife will probably be there. So yeah, come hang out with us. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be food. There's going to be drinks. There's going to be a lot of people hanging out, being excited for Rockies opening day, as it is the birth of a new season, the birth of a new team, the birth of taking advantage of Coors Field, all of that stuff. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be electric. Hey, speaking of that, Kyle Freeland, I know this happened a couple days ago, but I just quickly wanted to touch on this. He was announced opening day starter for the Colorado Rockies. We already talked about that. That will technically set up Michael Lorenzen to get the official home opener start for the Rockies if the math all lines up, if that's where the rotation goes. It would have Lorenzen starting at Coors Field against the Phillies. Is this the final Kyle Freeland opening day start? That's the question that I had to ask. I know I saw some people joking about it on Twitter. Oh, the year is 2046. And
yes, I just wanted to read that.
But it
at
made me think, I'm like,
Glove.
Yeah.
The year is 2062. The Rockies are fresh off their 38th consecutive 100-loss season. A 68-year-old Kyle Freeland fresh off another 4.9 ERA season, making his 41st career opening day start for the Colorado Rockies.
Electric. But that brought up the question. Is this his last opening day start? I would have to venture a guess that it is, right? He's in a contract year next year, right? I'm correct on that.
I think it next year is a team option.
Team
or
option,
either
okay.
team or player option 27.
You would hope
when there's going to be no baseball.
Well, yeah, true. That's also true. You would hope, though, all things considered, that Chase Dollander is your opening day starter at some point, right? If he has the year that we hope he will have, he is your guy starting opening day next year. But this might be Kyle Freeland's last opening day start. So we'll see. He technically has done well. He did well last year until Bud Black pulled him after like 12 pitches. What was the year before that? Oh, the year before that was the one he got shelled, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, there was a Marquez one in there somewhere, right? I'm pretty sure German Marquez started opening day for the Rockies somewhere in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, could be. But anyways, worth a note. Hey, we gotta talk about our baseball bracket. And now I'm just now realizing I did not load up the bracket on.
I got it. We're good. I got the notes at least.
But unfortunately, no visuals for those of you at home. If you haven't been following it already, on Twitter, we're doing a favorite Rocky bracket where we go through them, and every day we're voting on fan favorite Rockies. There were some tough matchups. Kyle Freeland, I think, got kind of hosed in that one. But what's our update? We got
the 1 through 8 has gone through on both sides of the bracket. No upsets here. Todd Helton, 93% over 8-seeded Ubaldo Jimenez. Larry Walker, 81% over Rockies opening day starter Kyle Freeland. And Kyle Freeland, like Larry Walker versus Kyle Freeland, not very fair matchup because Larry Walker's one of the all-time greats. There's going to be a statue put outside Coors Field for him this season. But Kyle Freeland, as a kid that grows up in Colorado, and if you're my age or younger and became a diehard Rockies fan, Freeland is one of your favorites, if not your favorite, because he's the guy that stuck it out.
Didn't you strike out against Kyle Freeland?
I did, yes. No, I grounded out. He struck out everybody but I hit a weak ass wood bat ground ball to second base.
Wow.
And I was about it.
I didn't. Yeah. I forgot that you put the ball in play. I remember you had faced him, but I didn't know you put the ball in play.
Our whole team was just destroying us. Kyle Freeland was just mowing us down in this side at Thomas Jefferson High School, the side lot game, middle of the summer, wood bat league. And I actually put the ball in play. I went at him early. I was not letting him get 2 strikes.
How hard was high school Kyle Freeland tossing back then? Like
I think
high 80s?
he was, I think it was 82 to 86, somewhere in there. It was faster than anything I'd ever seen. My guys were throwing like I was catcher, and my guys were throwing like 75. So it was like, all right, fine. Yeah. I'm gonna tell my kids I took Freeland yard for sure.
Yeah.
But and then Matt Holliday right now is leading over Pedro Estacio at 96%. So Matt Holliday looks like he's gonna move on in the 4-5 matchup. And then our first potential upset, I believe there's still maybe about half an hour left in the bracket for the 4-5 in the Rocky Mountain region, if you will. Jeff Francis is leading over Ryan McMahon. So that shows me that some older heads and some Rockies fans that are maybe my age that grew up where Jeff Francis was the ace of a World Series team and was electric, tall, lefty Canadian guy. Jeff Francis is leading over Rymack. So the matchups we got coming out today, those will be tweeted right after the show's over. Head over to @DNVR_Rockies on Twitter. Follow us there. We need all the follows for as we're going through the season, as we're tweeting out our stock up, stock down, as we're crashing out, as we're tweeting videos. But today's matchups are the 3-seeded Charlie Blackmon, fan favorite. I think he could make a deep run versus 6-seed German Marquez, Rockies all-time leader in strikeouts. And then another strong 3-seed Carlos Gonzalez versus semi-deep cut Jorge De La Rosa. At the time of his career, he was the all-time Rockies wins leader. I don't know if that still stands, but he was a great pitcher and one of the guys that, I don't think he's around Coors Field anymore like Estacio is and helping out the Rockies at all. But De La Rosa is one of the first guys that came over as a vet and actually had a lot of success at Coors Field. Like, success at Coors Field looks different for everybody. It looks different for pitchers than it does success for Giants or Dodgers or, Padres pitchers. But Jorge De La Rosa had a lot of success at Coors Field. So those are the matchups today. Check our Twitter. Those will go out today. And somebody said pitting Helton versus Walker, E-line, that will be the final if they both make it. They're both 1 seeds on each side of the bracket. So Helton versus Walker could be the number 1 versus number 1 seed in the championship game if it gets to that point.
March Madness is officially here. I did see someone was upset that Dante Bichette wasn't in the mix. I think that's just because of lack of time played, right? He had some memorable moments at Coors Field and in Colorado, but time played factors into that. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. I thought the rankings were pretty good.
He was the biggest omission, though. He was in the first 4 out that, like, a lot of people in a bracketology meeting would argue that they should have been in.
He was the UCF, the undefeated UCF, where you're like, yeah, he could be in. He could, but we're not going to put him in there. And by the way, guys, if when this show is going to be done in about 3 minutes, head over to our watch along. We're doing a little watch along. I'll be heading down there, doing a little March Madness watch along, taking all the dogs. I know, Spencer, you have bets in literally every single game.
Yeah, they've all lost so far. I'm 0 for 3.
Attaboy. And again, if you're new to Bet365, use that code DNVR365 and you're getting $365 back in bonus bets if you put $10 out there. So we're going to take advantage of that. Last thing, I don't know if you've been noticing this. This is a completely random topic, but I don't know if you've been noticing this, but all these other stadiums are doing their 2026 food promotion.
Yeah, these things are popping off, man. When are the Rockies going to release something?
They haven't done anything. The last thing that the Rockies did, which I absolutely hated, was their stupid, what is it? The polar pasta. You remember that? Their ice cream pasta? Garbage. By the time you get it and it's 100 degrees and it's just a mushy plate of vanilla ice cream with some strawberry thrown into it as pasta sauce. It was not a win, in my opinion, last year for the Rockies. So I think the Rockies got to step it up. Yeah, ice cream spaghetti. What the hell even is that? So we got the Dodgers. They have watermelon habanero margarita. Incredible. That's great. My wife's going to be pissed that she's pregnant. Yep. Tahini dusted rim with a watermelon habanero mix. So that seems great. That's the only good thing the Dodgers have ever done. The Marlins have their new machete menu item, which is a 2-foot-long homemade flour tortilla with different cheeses, Oaxacan cheeses, marinated carne asada, smoky guajillo pepper sauce. Just a fat-ass taco is basically what that is.
2-foot taco.
Electric, dude. That sounds so good for all 30 people that are there at a Marlins game. And then the Diamondbacks have their Take Me Out to the Ball Game shake, which is salted caramel shake with whipped cream, peanut butter sandwich cookies, Kit Kat bars, and Cracker Jack. It's a heart attack in a bowl. But I would probably also do that.
I was going to say, you're an ice cream guy, so you would definitely go full send on that. We need, when this comes out for the Rockies, if it comes out, or if there's a new food item, whenever that gets posted / promoted, we need to do a video review of it. That's clearly, for content.
I agree. I remember last year there was conversations about us possibly doing like a City Connect jersey reveal on the show. Like the Rockies PR was like debating on giving us a box and having us like film a reveal thing, but it just never worked out because it was too short on timing. But I think we could pull some strings. I think we could maybe see if we could reveal it on the show, do a little taste test on the show, see if it's worth it or not.
Yeah. Actually, you need to send a text to Rockies PR right after the show and say, "Hey, what's the new food item? These are going viral. What is ours?"
Yeah, I know you guys don't give me. I know you guys don't give me any scoops like you give Thomas Harding, since he is the team reporter. But can I get this scoop? Can we get the food
Yeah, can we
scoop?
get this food scoop? Yeah, can we be the food guys, please?
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. We got to wrap things up. I got to jump on this March Madness stream. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week. Our schedule's going to change a little bit. Our show on Tuesday is normal at noon. Spencer, I haven't talked to you about this yet, but we got to move our second show because I had a Thursday appointment come up on Marissa's side of things. So we're going to be doing a baby stuff on Thursday. So we'll be moving our other show. So we'll post something about that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week. We will catch you guys next time right here on the DNVR Rockies podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.